This is the Toplofty Lounge. We're in for a smooth show for you today. Oh yeah, baby. In 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, baby. Yeah, here we go. In 11, 10, 9. Oh yeah, baby. Here we come. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Toplofty Lounge, episode 40, Conversations for the Elevated. And, of course, the only show on the internet that has the $1 million guarantee. Ask about our $1 million guarantee. You give us $1 million, we'll talk about anything you want. Welcome to all my fellow snobs. This week on the Toplofty Lounge, we're talking about, it's our semi-monthly, whenever we want to do it, movie night. And we're talking about the classic sci-fi movie from director George Lucas, THX 1138, which is also Cam's favorite movie. And as we're talking about Cam, let's introduce my co-host. He is the People's Choice to my Academy Awards, the Emmy to my Tony, and the Neil Patrick Harris to my Ricky Gervais. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, everyone.
And how are you feeling, Cam? You don't sound so good.
I'm in rough shape. Let me apologize to all of the listeners if I'm wheezing or sniffling or sneezing, and I don't catch the mute button in time. I apologize.
So what happened? Did you catch some nasty bug that's going around, or did I give you one over the interwebs from a couple weeks ago?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It just took that long to get down here from Canada. When you were saying
very slow internet connection.
Okay, here's the thing. I've barely been around anybody, so I don't know where I would have caught
this. That's true. You hate people, so.
Well, yeah, and I went to the car dealership the other day, and I was there very briefly, and didn't didn't really get near anybody or touch anything, and I'm not exactly a railing liquor kind of person, No, I try to keep clean, but anyway, I had to walk home from the place because my car was left there and I couldn't catch a ride, so I had a little walk, but it was a nice walk. It wasn't even cold or anything. And then I don't know. Yeah, well, weatherman, it might be an allergy thing, I guess. We are kind of on the verge of spring in the southern area here of North America, or central area at least. And there might be some kind of pollen. I don't know. But
we have a problem here. I mean, we don't have it yet because there's still snow everywhere. But there's all this mold that's under the snow when the snow finally melts on the grass, and so that bothers some people sometimes. But yeah.
Well, maybe something like that, because it just hit me like a ton of bricks on, I think it was Thursday night.
Well, let's have let's look at the birds while we're. Yeah,
great.
Watch the birds while we're talking about these horrible things. Yeah.
Hail, Michael.
All right. Well,
you know what? Sorry, but so we don't forget, as we look at the birds, tomorrow is going to be the 800th episode of Sci-Fi for Me's Live from the Bunker show. So
he's doing that tomorrow, then, eh?
Yeah. And tomorrow is also his birthday, Jason's birthday. So he's becoming very old, another inch towards the grave, as we all are. So be sure to tune into that at 1 Eastern time.
1 Eastern.
Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Jason's 800th show tomorrow. Wow. Yep. That's a lot. And we're only on 40. Oh, well, we're working our way. We're making our way there. Let's see. With me, not much for me going on. I've been watching that show, Severance. I don't know if you heard about that.
I've heard a little bit about it. I don't know anything
about it.
I've seen it mentioned.
Yeah, it's these. They put a chip in your brain, and you go to work on this floor for this weird company, and it basically splits your memories, so you can't. When you're at work, you don't remember. You only remember what happens at work, and outside of work, you can't remember anything that happened, and vice versa. So it kind of splits you people into two. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. It's definitely sci-fi. I'm checking it out. I finished the first season. They're in season 2 and they're releasing it every week. I think the next one they're releasing is episode 5. I just finished episode 1 of season 2. So I'm checking it out. I'm a little, it's okay. I'm a little concerned that it might turn into one of these Lost things, instead of having a story that has a beginning, middle, and end. It's like, oh, well, people like our show. We better keep it going for like 10 seasons and just drag it out. And you're just like, what is going on? Like, come on. They should have found out what the problem is by now.
Yeah, that's the problem with
anyway.
with concept shows that, don't really know where they're going, which is the opposite of Babylon 5. Hey, Babylon 5, tune in on Wednesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Nice segue.
Yeah, thank you. For our retrospective, we're going to be watching episode 8, or reviewing episode 8, I should say, on Wednesday.
Yeah, I was about to do that, but you interrupted me. But anyway, that's fine. Somebody had to do it, right?
Yeah. Well,
all right. Well, before we get going, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Who's here? Weatherman's here. Always good to see you, Weatherman. Greg C. Michael's here. Who else? Anybody else hiding? I'm sure there's a couple of people hiding in the background. Yeah, that's okay. Oh no, Death Angel Shadow's here too, of course. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure a couple of you are lurking in the background. That's fine. Lurkers may lurk. Enjoy your lurking. Which leads me to, look, what's this? The toolbox, Cam's toolbox is not a every show episode. It's only every once in a while. However, we do have one today. So let's go to Cam's toolbox. Let me just roll the intro here. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Tool time. It's tool time. It's Cam's toolbox. Yeah. All right, go.
Sorry, I had a little sneezing fit there. Okay, so do you want to bring up the?
Bring it up. All right, let's bring it up.
So this is something I'm relatively new to, but this is a tool bag company, and they have other things like tool belts and basically tool storage, tool organization. And I didn't know anything about this company until last year. But apparently every year at this time, from March to May, it's like a quarter of the year, they have this promotion where they basically have these 2 free items, which you can see here. There's tier 1 and tier 2. And if you look on their website, you can basically, if you buy one, you get one free. But the free thing you get is what's shown there on the header. So you're getting that specific bag, or the tier 2 specific bag, but you can get it by buying a very long list of their items. So basically, they're most of their catalog. If you buy one, now these are very bougie, as the kids would say, tool bags. These are kind of very expensive, and for contractors and serious DIYers and things like that. So it won't be for everybody. So these are going to be $100 and up kind of thing. But if you have, maybe you got a friend and between the 2 of you, there's you might want to split the items or something like that. So it's fun to look at, and I do have a number of those. I got some from last year's tool deal, and they are very nice items, and I believe they're all made in the USA too. So don't quote me on that, but you can check. And hey, we're not sponsored by them, so if you don't like them,
you don't have to pay any.
No skin off our nose.
You don't have to pay any tariffs to get them.
Right.
Do you want me to go into one of these, the list of tiers for the tier 1 or tier 2
sure,
bags?
Yeah, pick the
Which
tier
one?
2 one. Yeah, just try
tier 2. All right, I might have to reset here because it says it opens in a new window. So let's.
Yeah, it does.
Right, we can. Let's just go into the thing. Sorry, and then
as you're bringing that up, I'll just say it's
very
new
easy. One up.
If you order from them, it's easy. You buy the thing, if you buy one from that list, it will automatically, provide you with the free item. So all those listed there on the right are ones that if
Holy
you
moly.
buy that item, you get, the free one, which is shown. The free
There's
one,
quite a few of them here.
yeah, tier 2 here happens to be this year. It's like a pouch, like a zipper pouch, like a EDC pouch or something.
Yeah.
With a like a belt pouch on the outside of it. So
this is it right here, right? On the
right.
on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And this is like open and then closed, right? I think.
Actually, this is the one on the image on the left is the bag, the pouch with the belt pouch on the outside, and then on the right, is the pouch that's on the back. So
without it, yeah. All right, let me click on one of these. Oh, look at this camo DNA. What could that be? Is that going to open? Oh, that's not.
It's going to go to another window too.
No, it's not. It's not doing anything. It just highlights it.
Doing anything?
Oh, wait. All right, this one here. Okay, this one's got a little hand coming up. All right, let's try that. It's going to go to a different window again. Jeez, so many windows. All right. Let's bring that up. You want to bring that up?
Yeah, sure.
I'll just take a look at one.
Yeah, we don't want to go too long though.
Why not? Here it is, the TP6B blackout. I just picked this one at random.
Oh, there you go.
134, 135.
Yeah, this is similar to the one that I use for around the house. Holds quite a bit. It's nice, pretty good organization. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in these, typically where you can store stuff. And I made myself a little test. It's like, okay, I'm putting together this bag, and if I have to go elsewhere for a household project to get something, I've failed. So the point is, whenever I have a household project, I grab the bag, and it needs to work out of that, which I did this weekend successfully. Did a little project, had everything set. So, all right, good.
All right, awesome. That's it. I've been looking at the chat. I've been staring at the tools.
Greg likes the man toys. All right, right on.
Right on. Yeah.
Yes,
that's what you want to get for your birthday. Yeah, we'll get right on that. What's this? Right. I clicked it, but it shut you guys down. Can you add the link to your subscription so I can find it later? Yeah, we can. We posted it in the chat and it didn't work. Is that what you're telling me? I copied it right off the thing. I do something wrong.
It is his browser probably set to open in the same window.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean we can put it in the description of the show. Afterwards,
don't worry. Sure. It runs for 3 months. It just started on Saturday, so
yeah, you got like we went back to things like 88 days. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of anyway. What is it called here? VitoProPack.com. Yep. So that's the name of the site. I'll just delete that. I'll just put the general site in the chat, and then maybe you can just copy that. Yeah. Hey, I like tools. I mean, not as much as Cam, I guess. But, tools. Everybody likes tools. It works, but it shut your stream down. Oh my! Well, we can't have that. Do not go to the site if it shuts the stream down. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll okay. 15 minutes.
All right.
Perfect.
Let's get on to the main topic of the show, which we're talking about the movie THX 1138. Cam, you want to give a little blurb about it since this is your favorite movie?
It is not my favorite movie.
It isn't? I thought you were named after it.
Well, I have adopted the 1138 extension to my online moniker. And it is based on, George Lucas stuff.
And I've been calling you Cam, but what I really should be calling you is KAM, right? Should be calling you
that's right.
KAM, like exactly. THX.
And if we're going with the movie, it should be 11. No. How'd they say it in the original?
They usually say 1138.
1138. Did they say 1138 or 1138? I'm trying to remember between the it was different, I think, in the the original student film. I think in the student film they said 1138.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought I heard 1138, but I might have heard
You're
1138
probably
one
right.
time too. But
Okay, well let's
anyway,
dive in.
it doesn't matter.
So as we just mentioned, this is George Lucas's first movie that he put out, I think, in 1971, and it was also his film school project, which was a 15-minute version of the movie, which was called crap. No, I forgot it. It's like electric something. THX.
I got it.
Yeah.
67, and it was called Electric Labyrinth, THX 1138 4EB.
Okay.
That's a mouthful. All right. Oh, he's
Sorry,
muted himself because he's coughing fit.
I'm going to need to step away for 1 second, but I'll see if I can get through some of this here. So I saw this originally, I don't know, probably in the mid 80s. Again, George Lucas, everybody knew who George Lucas was because of Star Wars and everything. And I was running with a group of fellas that were really into movies. And so we, worked on our own little short films, goofing around kind of thing and stuff, and watched a lot of movies and things, and were interested in filmmaking, not not professionally, just or not aspirations to do it professionally, just for fun. But this is one of the ones we watched, and I'm sure at that time I watched the original theatrical release. The one that I have is actually the director's cut that came out in 2004, I think it was. So I can't discern between the difference. I mean, there's some things that are obviously been redone with CGI and such in the 2004 version, but I don't think it substantially changed. I think it was just some things were kind of cleaned up. Excuse me.
Well, I can talk to that. I was reading the Wikipedia page, and they said that they added about 3 minutes to the film.
Yeah.
And there was keep going, and I'll find it. I read a whole thing about the whole what they changed. Oh, here it is. I got it here. So he had ILM go over the original negative. They did some computer generated imagery, audio, video restoration stuff to it. It increased the runtime to 88 minutes. I think it was 85 mainly. And the rating was changed from GP, which was PG at the time, to R because of the sexuality, nudity. It's the only film directed by Lucas to carry an R rating. Let's see what else. They executed a single-day shoot to form the basis for new digital visual effects, mostly to expand scenes by extending crowds, adding detail to settings and backgrounds to many scenes. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, so I watched the director's cut this last watch, which I just rewatched the other day. And okay, so let's be honest. It's a dystopian film that has, it's going to feel a little bit like 1984 and a little bit like Brave New World in references, but the plot is razor thin on this movie. There's really not much to it. It doesn't elaborate really, and we don't really find out that much of what's going on. But the reason the movie is appreciated, I think, excuse me, even to this day, is the way it was shot, and it is kind of interesting from that perspective. It's very, of course, it's dystopian, so it's very stark. A big feature of a lot of the movie is just plain white fields as far as you can see. There's nothing, it's just whiteness.
White clothes on a white background.
Right.
Sometimes it looks like the people's heads are like disembodied heads moving around.
Yeah, it does. And then, so in this world, you never really see who is running this world. I mean, there's not like an overlord that you really see. You see people in different roles, that are kind of like bosses and things, but they all seem pretty much the same as anyone else. There are the cops, which are android or robot cops that are, they look like like biker cops basically. They wear helmets and have a silver face, and they're very tall and all clad in black, like black leather kind of thing. And they kind of show up and do things. Basically, they just kind of they say, "Oh, we're here to help you. Don't be afraid. We won't hurt you," kind of thing. And sometimes they hurt you, sometimes they don't. But so you want me to just keep going as far as the plot, or you want to talk about it?
No, I mean, I could comment on some of that. It's very much a 1984. The shaved heads in the same. I mean, 1984 doesn't shave their heads, but everybody wears the same suit. It's the only sort of changes are they've got the drugs. Everyone is kept sedated to a certain extent all the time. They even got their own big brother slash Ohm, right? The day looking guy.
Yeah, it basically looks a little bit like Jesus.
Yeah, he looks a lot of bit like Jesus. It's got a little bit of the whole religious, a little bit more religious overtones to it. But I mean, even then, it's kind of the worship of
sorry. Well, okay. So what you see,
worshiping him, it's more of a right.
Well, what we see is at the opening scenes, it's kind of showing THX and who we later find out to be his mate, his roommate, essentially, which is a woman. Everyone's bald, everyone's shaved bald in this, and they all wear white. And
yeah,
and there's kind of you get right off the bat that it talks about it's like, oh, how are you feeling, or what's wrong? You got like these voiceovers, like some kind of overlord big brother voice.
You know what that reminded me of? Those crappy, I mean, they're still not that great, but those crappy AI chatbots that first came out in the 90s and stuff, and they would be like, "Oh, this is the first," and you go through them, and they just basically always say, "Tell me more," or "Can you,
right,
oh,
right.
That's interesting," right? Like that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and
really
so
bad chatbot.
Right. So, but through this, the intro, you get the whole thing. It talks very early about, suspected of evading their drugs or whatever. It's like you're forced to take drugs. Basically, everyone is like zoned out on sedatives of some sort. Excuse me, all the time.
And they also make you suppress your sexual urges too, right?
Yeah. Right. It's so everyone's just kind of like in this. Well, that's actually not true. It's doing something to you, but there's a scene. It's pretty gross, where at one point THX comes home, and his LUH is his roommate, this woman, and she's expressing like she's like kind of needy. She's like, oh, kind of calling out to him, and he's just kind of ignoring her or whatever. And I think this is actually the second day you see of it. And he's coming home and he's watching entertainment, which they have, which is this adult entertainment video that it's kind of like a hologram that they're showing there. So imagine Star Wars Princess Leia in the worst possible way you could think, hologram kind of thing. And he's just like flipping through all these shows, and then there's a machine that is relieving him, let's say, and it's kind of a brief scene, but that's something.
Well, yeah, but that's because she's been switching his drugs.
No,
right?
No, that comes later. This is clearly a machine that's part of their society. This is like something that's going on. It's
yeah,
like
but okay,
you're right. She is. She's is
switching his drugs because she wants him to become sexually attracted to her.
She does. You're right about that. And they show her like when they have their food trays or whatever, which are like these
Yeah,
these foil trays, and she's like switching out the drugs. And in the intro, like as at the very beginning, they're showing her like at the medicine cabinet or whatever, being like, no, I'm fine. So clearly you're getting the idea that she's been not taking her drugs, and then she's altering what he's taking as well. And so that's true, but they don't have the the vacuum machine. They didn't go and get that. That this is something separate. That's part of their suppression is the idea there. And again, they have
yeah.
these
But
videos that are prompting them to this. So they don't have contact with each other is the
yeah,
point.
like they are roommates. They're just,
Right.
and the fact that he's been, assigned to a woman is nothing. That's not, that's just sort of like, they suggest the computer does it, but that's not purposefully done for, it could be his roommate could be a man. It just doesn't.
Right.
Yeah,
And
like
actually
that's what my understanding was, that she is
it is.
substituting. She wants, she is kind of wanting some sort of physical connection with people,
Right.
and she's doing that to him, and he's talking about how he's going into those confession booths. He's saying, I don't feel right. I don't feel like normal. Something's different. He's throwing up. He's got anxiety. Yeah.
Right. Right. But these are two different things happening here. She's doing that, but again, the entertainment that they have is clearly of the sexual nature, and
Yeah.
the machine that is again relieving him is not something he came up with. This is
No. Is it a
so.
machine? Because in the original, there's you can't see if there's a machine or not.
Yeah, you see part of it. It's like it's not
Oh, do you?
explicit,
Okay,
but
I
yeah,
didn't
you
notice
see
that. But
the kind of thing kind of going there in him. Anyway, it's well, okay. So just a brief note on the other entertainment. Some of the other entertainment was the cops just beating someone to death. Um,
yeah, he
he's
like
like,
he,
oh,
he thought that was the best.
yeah, he really liked that one apparently. And so it's like it, uh, pretty base level stuff that they
Yeah,
have for entertainment. They do have some news shows though that they
yeah. There's some people
are also
talking like,
available.
yeah. So it just seems
Uh,
they've got sex, violence, and some sort of intellectual interest, if that's what you're interested in. Weatherman here says in the comment there is just he started building up resistance to his drugs because of her messing with his drugs.
right,
That
and
could be.
that's where we get to the scene where he goes to the robo confession booth or whatever it is, where he basically goes in there and they have this big lighted panel of the religious figure that looks vaguely like Jesus, or depictions of Jesus. And he goes in there and is like, oh, he starts to confess, oh, I'm not feeling well, I don't know what's wrong, this kind of thing. And like you said, the response, like the chat bot, is just like, oh, okay, oh, I see. It's just these absolutely inane, meaningless responses, kind of thing.
The best response was, "Can you be more?" And then the pause. Specific. That
Yeah.
was awesome. I'm like, oh man. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. So anyway, so that's kind of the thing. And so it just gives you a setup. The other scene we see early on is him at his workplace, and basically he's a technician that runs uh, robotic arms, building the the police robots. So he's just one of many. There's this whole line of them, and I think the first day they
And
show,
apparently they're nuclear too.
yeah, there's some kind of a radioactive element that they put in them, presumably their power source or whatever. But they have there's an accident in one sector, that just basically like just obliterates all the workers. It just blows up and kills a dozen of them or
It's
something.
only like 63 of them or something.
Well, that's the other thing.
65.
There was an announcement, for where he's working, and they're like, "Oh, there's whatever going on in this sector. Don't worry, you're not in any danger. Keep working." And then it's like, "Oh, well, those deaths bring their total up to 204, which is more than our 163 or something." It's like, "Oh, so good job, everybody." So you get the idea that deaths are relatively common um, in
Yeah.
this, and obviously, no one's life is, there's no
Human life is worthless.
right. Yeah, it's no one has any grief about it. It's just like, oh, they're dead. I mean, they do have fear. They like you show them like taking off running when they it's like, oh, something's wrong, and the workers start running. So they have enough cognizance to realize their lives are in danger, but they don't seem to have much reaction otherwise. There's a long scene with him like walking home. That's just kind of him stumbling around, and it's there's a lot of establishing scenes of just the very long, you know, atmosphere shots.
Yeah, it's not like it's not a. I would not say it's my view. It's not a good movie, but I appreciate the fact that he like went. I can see why the artsy types would like it, and he's got all these shots. It's very stark. Like
Right.
you really feel that in the shot.
Yeah, it's a film school movie. It's very much. A few other things they have I noticed is like they seem to have I mean they show a toilet at one point, which is just like a toilet without a seat, just kind of sitting there by itself. And I think they have they're implying that they have a shower that's just light, because he stands in like this booth at one point and this light's on and then it goes off and he walks out of it. So I think that's what they're implying is going on there. Their food is, like dehydrated, like blocks of stuff and things like that. It doesn't look like real food.
You mean when they're in the prison and eating?
Well, in the prison, you specifically see it look like bars of soap is what they're eating in there.
Yeah,
but even when Law brings him, a tray or something, it's just like this.
Oh yeah, squares.
Tray of all this, these blocks of crap on it, and a lot of pills as well.
Yeah, a whole. It looked like it's like your Hungry Man, Michael or
the worst Hungry Man ever.
Yeah, from the 70s, and except there's one instead of the dessert part, you got all the drugs. I had a question about. There's something that didn't. That's kind of a minor point, but I think it's after he comes. There's one part where he goes and he gets this, red dodecahedron or something, and he takes it and he brings it home and he throws it into. What's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say he at the beginning after his first day at work or whatever, he's carrying it home with him.
And he throws it into this square thing like a fridge or maybe a oven or something like that. Or I'm like, what the hell is that thing? And there's a guy who's got a blue one.
Yeah,
the guy who's got a blue one gets helped by the cop. He's like, here, come this way.
Well, that's the okay. So Robert Duvall is THX 1138.
Yes,
which, he's a famous actor. And then Donald Pleasance is this other guy who is a supervisor of some sort in the same area as THX is, and he seems to be having some sort of problem. And again, he has like this blue sphere that he has been like, and Snob said he gets kind of picked up by the cops, because he's acting strangely or whatever. So,
or he's having trouble getting his piece of thing, and he's kind of stumbling around and
right. So in terms of okay, as Snob said, La 3417 gets him off of his drugs, and then they start into a relationship, which is really weird and awkward to watch. I'll admit that, but they start. They're off their meds and off the reservation in terms of what their society allows.
They engage in illegal sexual activity or something.
Right, and that apparently is going on for a little bit of time. And then we get to, I guess, the plot here where THX is at work, and he's, well, I you know what, I forget. Is this before he talks to Donald Pleasance with the whole thing? At his, I think that's actually before this, isn't it?
No, it's because I think he talks to her before. He talks to him before because remember when he's going to. You're talking about the mind block thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's already, he's showing him and Elle have been showing, some, unsanctioned activity, let's say, or something. So they are prepared to mind block him. I think that's how it happens. They get ready to mind, they're like, oh, we have to mind block him I could be wrong about that part. But then he's walking. He has she says, "Oh, this guy wants to talk to me." He's like, "Don't talk to her. Don't talk to him. There's
Yeah.
something
She's
weird
like,
about it."
I have to. And he's like, you
He's
don't
a
have to talk to me.
supervisor. And he's like,
Right.
"Don't do it." And then she does, and the guy, then confronts THX. Donald Pleasance confronts Robert Duvall and says, "Hey, it'd be better off if we were roommates." And
Yeah, he
then
got
he
rid of his
goes,
own roommate somehow. He
yeah,
orchestrated that.
he's
So
yeah, they're
there's
cleaning out
clearly
his,
something wrong with him too.
yeah, he's off
We
his
don't know
rocker.
exactly what I don't know that we really find out what the origin of his problem is.
But then he goes to he's going to work, and remember, on his way to work, he stops at the little box and reports the guy. He like puts a
Yeah,
little thing.
THX does because what he did is illegal.
Yeah. And then he goes to work, and that's when they mind block him and that sort of thing. So I think all that happens beforehand. So
right. So okay. So he's at his station, operating his work, and so as they're doing this, they're wearing the headphones and everything, and they're being given instructions like, okay, make this adjustment, whatever. Da, da, da. So they're basically acting like robots, doing this work themselves. But they're having all this interaction, and they keep on showing, these, people at all these stations doing all these things. So you get this idea, setting wise, that there's this giant network of all these people working in according to some larger instruction, but we never find out who that really is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Weatherman, you're saying
I didn't notice that, Weatherman, but I mean that could make sense. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, maybe that's it.
um,
I wonder if he orchestrated that,
yeah.
because you do
Also,
see him.
I felt that the instructions that they're giving the guy are pretty stupid and a waste of time, right? Like he's like, "Okay, be careful now." Like I'm like,
Yeah,
if I was trying to do something and I'm like, and someone's over my shoulder saying, "Yo, be careful." Oh yeah, make sure you don't go slow. I'm like, Jesus, I know to go slow. I'm gonna be careful. Like,
Yeah.
what the
Okay.
hell?
Weatherman, did Sen orchestrate that explosion to kill his roommate, or was it just incidental?
I mean,
What
I
was it?
just watched it as well, and I didn't pick up the point that his roommate was killed in the explosion, and I didn't pick up anything about it.
Well, Weatherman's
Him.
smarter than both of
That's
us.
true. That's true. I didn't
Okay, they
pick up
never say.
anything about him. Yeah,
Okay.
they never say.
In any case, so
Yeah,
there's this little conflict going on, and so they mind lock
I
THX.
mean, he could have undrugged or drugged someone wrong, and
Yeah.
then to cause the explosion, right? It
Yeah.
almost happens with THX, right?
Well, what happens here is because they mind lock him while he's in the middle of a sensitive operation, and I don't know if this is in the original, but it's in the director's cut. They show it pretty specifically. He's trying to put like this
Yeah,
little rod, maybe half the diameter of a pill bottle kind of thing, into a slot in the android, and it, because they mind lock him, basically they take control of him, and he's like having like a seizure. Um, Loses control of his machine, and then he drops it and starts burning through different stuff, and uh causing an emergency, and everyone else like runs out of there, and then they eventually let him up, and he realizes what's going on, and he recovers and grabs the thing before it causes a catastrophic accident. um but
yeah.
then he
I
gets
can.
put. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I can comment on that because I watched the original, and the link there, and
Hmm.
he freezes and he drops the thing, but you don't see the burning through of anything. It just sort of
Okay,
sits there, and
so
alarms go off. And they're
that's some
like, oh.
added CGI.
So
It
I think,
definitely looks
yeah,
CGI
I think
when
that's
they were
that.
doing
So for sure.
it. Okay, so then he gets put on trial for this accident, and this is
That
where it gets
and well,
really weird.
is he put on trial for the accident?
Well, he is, but they do have the charge of his his misconduct with his roommate.
Because I thought, like, correct me if I'm wrong. What I saw was that he was put on trial for the illegal sexual activity and the thing with his drugs. It wasn't. I mean, the almost accident was. I mean, he kind of fixed the accident, but that was because that happened because of those two things, and that's what I saw him getting charged at. But maybe
Yeah, that's
charged
true.
for. But maybe
They do
wrong.
show him being. They do have list the charges of being his perversion. So,
Yeah.
but Greg, see, so this is not the original film school movie. This is the theatrical version of it. So the original was a 15-minute movie, which is on the DVD, and I did watch that, and I can comment on it a little bit. But this was an actual movie with a budget. Francis Ford Coppola's company
Yeah.
produced this.
Coppola is listed in the credits as the EP.
Right.
Sorry, executive.
Producer.
But in Wikipedia it says he's the producer, but I
don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so he gets put on trial, and the trial is very weird because, you have normal people acting as the prosecutor and defense, and it's like they're actually putting up arguments. I mean, they're very clumsy and everything. Like the prosecutor seems to be like a teenager or something, and she's like, "Oh no, he needs to be destroyed," and all this stuff. And the defense is like, "You're crazy," kind of like resisting it. But for some reason, he's declared that they can't destroy him, or they don't want to, because he's what they call it, like a natural born or something.
Yeah, it's stated that he's clinically born.
Yeah, clinically born. I don't know what that means.
I assume it means, no, maybe not. I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
anyway,
charged with sexual activities and failure to take sanctioned drugs. That's what I thought.
Yeah. They do list that. Anyway, so he's taken to prison, and then there's a brief scene where he's like all bloodied up.
Yeah.
And then
they beat him before.
Yeah. And then there's a scene that's very weird, and it freaked me out when I was a kid and I saw it. And it's basically him like sitting in this. So now we're in the all white area, where it's, it's basically just an infinity field of white. And he's sitting there like, kind of balled up. And there's three of the cops with like long staffs, and they just are like poking him, like electrified or whatever. And they're poking him, and he like gets up and like starts like running around like in the middle of all of them, just like kind of like, very out of it.
Trying to keep away from them.
Right, but he stays in the middle of them when he could clearly like run between, them and try and get away or something, but he doesn't. And it's just this, very weird scene. It's, it's very surreal. But
okay, you thought that was the weirdest scene. I thought the next scene was the weirdest.
Okay, go for it.
And that's the one where there's two screens, and there's guys talking, and they're like, it's like they're talking, oh, try this and try that and do that, and then he's reacting on the screens. He's like, going like starfish and curling up and putting his arms out and stuff. And it kind of implies, I mean, it doesn't say for sure, but somehow they're doing stuff and he's reacting.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but
yeah, they're controlling him in some way, physically, and they're like, oh no, don't go over this amount, and it's like, who is that? Who is doing this? It's, and why? So it's just one of those things. Again, it's like this weird atmosphere that's, you don't like, obviously, as a person. You don't like seeing that kind of thing, but it really never goes anywhere. It doesn't have any rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, and then they put him into, I don't know, I guess general population.
Yeah, where he's in with another group of criminals, including Sen, who was also convicted, and this is Donald Pleasant's character, and he's really off his rocker now. He's just rambling on about all these things, how we need to join together and do it. And he's very obsessed with THX, who is just like completely zoned out and not responding at all at this point.
This kind of seems like the psych ward, right?
Yeah,
because there's Sen and the other old guy, and they're talking like they're revolutionary leaders. Right. And there's some guys wandering around. There's a couple of scenes where they'll be talking in the background. Some guy be standing with his mouth open, his one arm up in the air, looking off into the thing. Like, you're like, that guy's like obviously like completely out of it. He's some kind of scene you'd see in a 1970s psych ward with the guy who like stares at the wall.
Yeah, and they've got like these cots or whatever, kind of in the middle of this, like platforms that they sleep on. They're all just kind of together here, and again, you see nothing else around them.
It's all white,
right?
And later on, another guy comes in. Two other people come in, and it seems like you don't see it, but it seems like the guy, one guy, assaults the other person, right? Because they scream and stand up, and then the guy runs around and he punches Sen in the face, and then the cops come in and take him away eventually.
Right.
Oh, no, sorry. One cop comes in, he destroys that cop.
Oh yeah,
and
he
then
hits him
more
once.
come in. He knocks him over, and then stomps on his face, and then more cops come in and they take him away. He's like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna go." So these people are all, and then the shell person comes in too. Like they throw him in there. Like this is like obvious. It was pretty. It seemed to me like this was a psych ward, right? Like these people are all crazy weird in some way.
Or anybody that's just not on their meds. I don't. It's hard to say what it is. But at some point, THX decides, I guess he's had enough, and he decides he's gonna take off.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, he's just, I'm gonna leave. Okay.
Yeah, so he just starts walking, and Donald Pleasance, again, because he's obsessed with him or whatever, is following him. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're buddies. We're gonna go and whatever. We're gonna go." He says we're gonna go somewhere. We're gonna find out about what's going on or whatever. And excuse me. So he goes off, and he's basically just following him. And again, THX isn't really responding to him, and they're walking, just walking again, just into this white nothingness. They have no idea if they're even walking in a straight line or going around in
Where
circles.
is this place? It's a giant, and they can't see the people they were behind. Like this is a giant white space. This reminds me of it reminds me of something from like some sort of Matrix type movie where you get stuck in a void and like the void goes forever and it's all white and you can't see anything and there's no landmarks, nothing. Like this was that was kind of weird. Where would they have all the space for this? I mean,
right. So they do go off, and then eventually they see someone like off in the distance, and he waves at him, and then he comes over, and it's one of the guys that was on the entertainment channel, one of the entertainment channels, and he I think at this point he explains that he's a hologram.
Yeah, he says he's a hologram.
Somehow he just
is he an actual hologram or is he a hologram? He's a holographic actor. He goes onto the hologram and acts like because he eats food.
Yeah, I don't know. Right.
They touch him.
Right, and he's hungry. He says he's hungry, and you see him eating food. He takes it from them and everything.
And he eats it. So, he touches stuff and opens doors. And all right, but before we go into that, it's Greg C says this kind of the whole world's blank and antiseptic, devoid of color and life. People were going nuts without drugs. Maybe this is all they're going crazy without their drugs. They're not being fed them. Is that why? I don't know. I mean, it's not explained, but anyway, go ahead. Cam's coughing.
Sorry.
So they meet up with the holographic guy.
Right, and he's like, they said something about whatever, and he's like, "Oh, it's right there. Exit's right there." Basically. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Right behind you. You just passed it.
Yeah, he's like, "Come with me," because he even says he's like, "Oh, you're probably walking around in circles."
Yeah, and he's the most normal person we've met. He seems normal,
right, compared to everybody else at least. And so they do, and you kind of the white kind of fades, and you're looking like the white's behind them. And they're looking towards whatever the darkness is, where this door is. And they stand there for a minute. They're like, okay, well, let's open the door. And then it gets even weirder because they open the door and suddenly they're in this huge crowded area, like, just a sea of people, going down these passages or whatever, which you never saw before,
like a herd.
Right. And I honestly, I have no idea what this is supposed to be because you didn't see this before. You saw people walking around in, ones or twos and just kind of, not crowded at all, and now you're seeing like this mass of people, and it's like I don't know what this is.
Now in the original version, the hallway looked very there was people going all through it like it, but the hallway wasn't like really wide. It was maybe 2-3 people wide, but they were like it was constant people going through there, and you see the characters are getting buffeted by the people. They're flopping all around,
right?
That kind of thing. So. I don't know if that changed in the director's cut that you had, if it seemed much wider,
but it was a big area for this crowd scene. It was 20-30 people wide kind of thing.
Why would you have your prison first of all, you have your prison. It's like, it appears to be, infinite. And then there's a doorway there, and it goes right into a corridor with a lot of people where you could easily escape. It doesn't, it seems weird.
Yeah, I again, the plot is almost non-existent here. It doesn't make sense. And it's supposed to be about this or that. I don't know. But okay, so we're getting long here, but so basically, then Donald Pleasance gets separated from the rest of them, or from THX and the hologram dude, and so they're kind of on the run now, and they're trying to get somewhere. We don't really know. Now, earlier we find out where or Donald Pleasance tells THX that La is dead. I think he tells him. And THX kind of says no. You're just lying. To try and get him to be his buddy or whatever. So they end up getting into some other area of wherever they are in this society, and they find like these developing humans, I guess, in which we find out that La has been killed and her name is assigned to like her
Or
her
fetus.
fetus or something. It's like it's really weird. it's like
Yeah,
it doesn't.
we didn't mention back when he's first in prison before he goes to general population, they send her into him,
Oh, that's
and
right.
they again have sex, and it's like, I mean, they're just and nobody care. Like they're just like, oh, they're just
Yeah.
allowed to carry on with their illegal activity, or okay.
Yeah, then the cops come in and take her away, and
yeah, afterwards.
Yeah, there's this weird scene where he's like trying to fight him off, which is basically just like holding on to one of the
Sticks.
cattle prod things and like running around. It's very strange, but they like pick her up and just like carry her away or whatever.
Yeah. And she tells him that she's pregnant at this time.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, spoiler, doesn't go anywhere, except for what we just mentioned. So apparently she is dead. So now we get into the escape phase here, which is, well, it goes on for a while. At which point now
we should just deal with Donald Pleasance first, because this is kind of
okay. Go ahead.
Weird. So he goes he walks off. He goes into a he finds he's on a subway. Subway stops for some reason. He gets out, walks down the thing, sees a rat, and then the subway's about to start back up, so he runs back and gets back on it. He sees these monk guys, right? Goes in a place where the monks are, and he sees this big, the big poster of and he starts praying to it, and the monk comes in and says, "Hey, not supposed to be here. Hey, you don't have a thing. Oh, you got to get out of here. I'm going to turn you in." And he knocks him over and runs off. And then he goes to a place where kids are playing, and he just sits there watching them. Kids come over, and they're like, "Hey, help me with my whatever drug feeding tube that they have."
Well, it's a learning thing. It's like, oh, they're learning advanced economics or something, and he's talking to them about. So they kind of go into this whole sidebar about how they learn things, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How would a drone? Why would you be teaching a drone advanced economics? I mean, it just doesn't. It just.
And he talks about how my bottle was like this big, and we had to sit in a bed for a week while you guys are, it's so advanced now. Just on your, then he just sits there watching them, and the cops take him away. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay.
So that just kind of ends.
He wasn't really that motivated to get out, I guess.
Right. And then we get to the pod racing scene. The proto pod racing scene.
Yeah.
Where earlier on in the movie, you do see some reference to cars. And so the hologram and him go find some cars that are like kind of like I don't know what style race car, but some kind of race car type of thing.
I can look it up here.
And
the chase scenes features 2 Lola T70 Mark III race cars.
Okay. So at this point, we see some scenes in Command Central or whatever where it's like, okay, they're tasked to go get him, and there's some mention of the budget that they have to go pick them up.
Yeah, that's interesting, I thought.
Yeah. because we really didn't see much about money and everything. Unless that red thing he had was like his pay or something, I'm not sure. But they have a budget set for this. I think it was 14,000 credits or something. And so he gets in the car and he's able to drive it. I guess he knows how to drive. And the hologram guy doesn't know how to drive, so
he does have
kinda,
trouble starting it though, and
yeah,
he's a little shaky with the wheel and stuff.
right. So he takes off though, out of the parking garage and starts going somewhere. And the hologram guy's stuck there for a while. He eventually gets it started and then immediately runs into a a pylon, wrecking the car. And then someone shows up and he's just gone. So whether he's a
Yeah,
hologram,
I thought that was interesting. He just disappeared. He just seems to be. We don't see him getting taken in or captured, and we don't see him leaving the car running away. So there seems like they're trying to imply that he ceased to exist or went, de-hologramified or something. I don't know what's going on.
yeah, and spoiler again, you never find out. So then it turns into this long chase scene. That's just
Maybe in the sequel.
yeah, sure.
Hit up Lucas and tell him you want a sequel.
Special edition gets way into it. So this long chase scene where the cops eventually they're on motorcycles, as Weatherman's mentioning here, and they're chasing them down, and it's it's all this underground tunnel thing. I think it was shot in like some was it's an underground railroad or something, or some in San Francisco.
It says I'm looking on the Wikipedia. It says to San Francisco Bay Area automotive tunnels.
Okay.
The Caldecott Tunnel between Oakland and Orlinda.
Yeah, Bart.
And an underwater Posey tube between Oakland and Alameda. I don't know what a Posey tube is, but
so they're filming in this, and it works well for a dystopian kind of atmosphere. And it's just excuse me, a lot of him driving and them chasing from far away. They're like way behind. And then at one point he overheats the vehicle and he's kind of sitting there, and then I guess it cools down. He starts and takes off again, and they're getting closer, and he runs through some stuff, and apparently the cops are not great bike riders because they crash easily. They send some other ones after him or whatever, and he gets to some point where he has to or where he gets out of the car and he starts climbing.
Well, he smashes into the tunnel ends, and he smashes into some construction guys.
There's like some scaffolding or something.
Yeah.
Which again, some more cops run into that and get taken out. Say, make it realistic. The cars are traveling at 140 miles.
Yeah, they talk about, like I said, I just saw it myself too. They talk about going 230 or 200 and something miles per hour during the during the chase scene, 235 or something like that. But it just I think Weatherman's talking about the Wikipedia talks about they actually drove the cars about 100. Yeah, the actual cars for the scene were being driven at about 140 miles an hour. And
close course, don't try it at home.
Yeah, they just exaggerate that a little bit and try to make it look a little faster for the thing. But I mean, it kind of looked fast.
He's saying kilometers per hour. There you go.
I'm pretty sure they said miles per hour in the thing I was watching for that. But anyway.
Whatever, he's driving fast, trying to get away. So see, Weatherman's way smarter than us, so we should have him on the show. But anyway, so he gets out eventually and he starts climbing, going again. I don't know how he knows where he's going in any of this, but he just keeps running. And now you're getting a little bit of a Logan's Run feel to some of this. And he's climbing, and I think I read that the climbing scene was actually done horizontally. It was, it's tilted, so it looks like he's climbing up, but they're really just going along the floor.
It looks like like the shot makes the tunnel look like freaking really, really, long. Yeah. So I'm not surprised about that.
Yeah. So and the cops are chasing him down, and then we get a warning. It's like, earlier there was some reference. It's like, anything that's 5% of our budget, you have to stop, or of our original budget, you have to give up. So it's you start to get, it's like, okay, you've hit your budget, for apprehending him, and then at some point they get to the overage amount, and they tell them they gotta, that's it, they gotta call it off. And I think the last thing is the cops are like, oh, you should come back, we're here to help you or whatever. And then
Yeah, we're here to help. We won't want to hurt you. Wait, didn't you guys just beat me up in the thing all bloody and then
those are
broke
different
me with those cattle prods? Oh yeah, it's different. Different. Yeah, they're different robot cops. They have
So
different personalities.
right,
Some of them are jerks.
yeah, exactly. He keeps going, and then he gets to a hatch, and he goes outside where you see the sun at sunset. Extremely large on the horizon. And he stands there.
The
Roll
end.
credits. The end.
Roll credits. Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
So
that's the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good. Let's be honest about
1 hour
it.
and 25 minutes of it.
Yeah. Now, okay. So I watched the student film version, which is 15 minutes. And let me tell you, just watch the student film version if you can, because it captures any message that you might want to take from this. Is conveyed in the short version just as well. It's obviously a much lower budget, and it's mostly scenes of THX running. You don't get his scenes with anybody else. It's really just him running, and these a lot of close-up shots of these technical kinds of things, and him being chased. But it ends the same way. With him escaping, and as Greg C points out, he escapes. Yeah. So what happens next, we don't know. But we don't really. I have a hard time caring because I don't know where he came from. I mean, I know where he came from, I guess, but I don't know why any of that was happening. If you wanted to say, okay, I want to apply this to something in the real world, you could easily make a parallel to the internet and how it's got us all semi-zombified. And when you start to talk about things about birth rates are dropping and everything because people are just sitting there watching, whatever creepy crap is put in front of them by Google. We're gonna get. Oh, there we go. We're gonna get clipped on this. Anyway,
don't escape from the hatch. Keep watching the show.
Yeah, exactly. You could easily make those kinds of parallels. So I guess from that standpoint, as a dystopian thing, it certainly matches. But I don't think this is what George Lucas envisioned. So it's a very generic kind of dystopian thing. And it's it is if you like filmmaking, it is something to watch. It's not because it's a meaningful plot that you're going to get or character development or anything else. It's really just about the atmosphere and how it's shot, from my perspective at least.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, I mean it's very much into that whole aspect of it, because like I said, the story and the plot are very yeah.
So
very minimal.
Greg says he feels a connection because he's human. Well, that's good. If somebody can get something from a piece of art, that's what it's for, I suppose. So,
I want to read this. This is from the Wikipedia. Let me just summarize this. So there was a novelization of the film written by Ben Bova, who's a pretty good science fiction writer. He's done a lot of stuff. I recommend his stuff. Anyway, there's 4. It says it follows the film plot closely. I haven't read this book, but there's 4 editions. So first off, he adds another character, Control, who is the accountant-like ultimate administrator of the city. And there's a bunch of different passages that show the events from Control's point of view. After having sex with LUH, THX consults a psychologist and admits everything. The psychologist transfers his confession to Control, leading to the overriding mind lock and arrest in the factory. So that's a little bit different. LUH's trial and death are depicted firsthand from her point of view and from that of Control. And the last point is, instead of climbing outside to witness a sunset, he climbs up and spends the night in the superstructure and exits in the morning and finds other humans living outside. So that's kind of interesting. Little additions from the the writer of the novel.
We forgot to mention the monkey men.
Well, no, those are the shell people. The shell, what are they called? The shell somethings.
Shell dwellers.
Shell dwellers. Yeah, I mentioned them.
Did you? Okay. I guess I just was ignoring you.
They're well, I said there was one of the shell dwellers when he was in the in general population there. And then, of course, we didn't mention this, but he has a fight after he crashes into the scaffolding and has to get out of the car. He's running away, and then a couple of those shell dwellers jump him and beat on him, and he beats them back, and then he runs off. And their buddies come and they help the guy that he beat up.
Yeah,
but that's all. Not much.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's pretty weird. All right, yeah. So, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Now, what if this movie had been like a hit, like Star Wars level of hit, and George Lucas has ended up making a THX IP instead of some Star Wars crap, right? What would our world be like then?
Well, I don't think this would ever have taken off like that. I mean, it's
no.
essentially
Let's just we're using our imagination.
I think the scenario that I would suggest somewhat differently is if this was the kind of thing that George Lucas continued to pursue instead of Star Wars. And just we had I'm kind of interested in that scenario because my opinion is that Star Wars has become a black hole that has ended up destroying the ability of other things to exist because so many people have focused so much, including myself, on Star Wars, and so it's kind of stunted the growth of other things. But
I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't agree. I mean, I agree to a certain extent. I mean, there's always, whatever is big, whether it's Harry Potter, Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, big IP. Of course, it's gonna, it might push if everybody likes this, it might push other things to the margins, and those things might not get as much attention. I think they're still going to be made because there's always people who are, have a desire to make things. The question is how much attention your thing might get, right? If you want to do something else, if all of science fiction is being sucked up by Star Wars, then it might be hard to get noticed. It still might get done, but it just might not be as successful. Which is what we try to show in this channel, the things that are not so necessarily so big. Some of the stuff you might have missed if you were watching too much Star Wars and Star Trek. But anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I'm agreeing in general that might happen, but I don't think that necessarily that there's still lots of science fiction out there other than Star Wars and Star Trek. But I would tend to, in my younger days when I would go to the bookstore, I would see, I would be looking for science fiction, and I would see slowly creeping, especially the Star Wars section. So I'll not, slowly creeping larger and larger with all these various, EU books about Star Wars. Did I say Star Trek before? Star Wars mainly. Star Wars was much more of that because they weren't putting out movies, as much. It would be growing in all these various, EU Star Wars stuff, and it'd be pushing out what I would consider the real science fiction, right? Yeah. So, I agree to a certain extent, but there's still lots of good stuff out there. I would kind of look down at those things.
If I'm to steel man my own argument, I could also say that so many sci-fi things came out because they were trying to jump on the Star Wars bandwagon. Such classics as The Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha.
Those are movies, though. Those are not.
That could have been.
You think The Last Starfighter is a Star Trek, or sorry, a Star Wars? Clone.
Yes. I mean, it's one of those things that, there was a number of them, not just Last Starfighter. There were some others. I forget the names of them right off. But I mean, Battlestar Galactica. Now, Battlestar Galactica was not a copy of Star Wars because I believe it was written before Star Wars came out. But would it have ended up on TV? Probably not. Then you had Buck Rogers, and you had
Okay, but Buck Rogers and stuff, those things aren't Star Wars. Those things are
You're
basic.
not hearing me here. Yeah, what I'm saying is that everyone's attention goes to sci-fi because of Star Wars. It was a sea change in the world of entertainment.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just, oh, everyone's copying Star Wars. It's like, hey, the sci-fi thing is hot. Let's find
Yeah.
something to do,
Let's push out more. Okay, I buy that. Yeah. Star Wars is very popular. It's science fiction, even though, you could argue that it's space fantasy. But and then there's more interest in science fiction in general. Yeah, sure. I'll buy that.
Greg C is requesting a watch night for Silent Running.
Silent Running. Yeah, I thought you were trying to say that, these are sort of these Star Wars clones. They're not, they're science fiction, but
there are some clones, but it's not. But again,
the best one being Spaceballs.
Right. Do you think Buck Rogers TV show would have come out if not for Star Wars?
No, I mean probably not. Yeah, but it's not Star, like it's not Star Wars. It's more of I put the Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers into the space Western style of
I understand that. I'm talking about marketing.
Yeah.
This is,
this.
I lived through this. Before my life was before and after Star Wars. And everything changed because of that. Everything we did as kids shifted and was shaped by Star Wars, including all the other things that were. Again, I never watched Star Trek before Star Wars. It was, I will take literally anything that remotely is related to anything like Star Wars, I'll watch it. That's just how it was for me, at least. That's my experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, on this channel, we're a little bit more discriminative. We just grab onto anything and just.
Oh, please.
We're a little bit more, yeah.
See,
Death Angel Shadow watched Trek with his dad. Probably not the original.
When did you watch it, DS?
Probably.
You're not that.
I don't think he was alive when the original came out.
On syndication,
maybe on reruns. Right?
And was before or after Star Wars? Could have been before. I'm trying to remember if there was any sci-fi that I remember before Star Wars. There might have been.
You were. Come on, how old were you when Star Wars came out?
Little.
You can't remember.
I was little, but I was old enough to, remember playing different. Again, superheroes were big for me when I was little. Batman and Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
And that's a Western, but those kinds of things were big for me. And then, it became, very, very much sci-fi focused. So, okay, Death Angel Shadow, you're saying in the 70s and 80s. So, okay, that's sounding like after Star Wars.
Yeah, Death Angel Shadow, you're younger than I am. So, yeah, so you're 4 when Star Wars came out. That's pretty young. It's pretty hard to remember things before that, like you're 4 years old. What was it like before Star Wars came out? I mean, I missed the initial Star Wars craze, in fact.
Really?
I'd see, I was, whatever. I was, and I like, people are going around with these action figures. I'm like, I don't know what that's about. I didn't get on board until The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, well.
Or prior to The Empire Strikes Back, because they would be showing Star Wars on TV, and I think that's where I first saw it.
Battle Beyond the Stars, Weatherman. That's the other one I was thinking of. Well, okay, so for me, it was, again, I saw it in the theater, and I remember watching it, and my mind must have been blown by it so much, because when I saw it the second time, it was like I was watching it for the first time, because there was, again, my tiny child brain was probably overwhelmed, and I couldn't pick up on everything. So it was like, I don't remember that at all. It was, like I was getting new stuff the second and third time watching. Greg C, you saw the original 37 times in the theater. Wow. I think I saw it 3 times. I think that was all that I got to see it.
Yeah, it's gonna. Okay, well, we don't want to get into much of a who's
See,
the
it all
bigger
comes.
fan.
No, all comes back to Star Wars.
Who becomes a bigger fan?
My point has been proved.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think like Star Wars was not really the. I mean, I enjoyed the movies, but they weren't the thing that really got me into science fiction. I was
Well, you are
about
Canadian
yeah, that's true. I
and
was
from the
about
future.
yeah, I was about 15, and it was Heinlein and Asimov's Foundation that really kind of
Nerd.
I was 14, 15. I mean, a little bit before I read a few some
Okay,
of
when you were a
Heinlein's
little
juvenile
kid,
stuff, and then
when you were a little kid, did you? So you're saying you didn't ever have a turning point due to Star Wars? I guess if you were, you didn't see it in the theater? Is that right?
not the original.
Okay.
But we weren't rich. We didn't, my parents didn't take us to movies or anything much. We just kind of, and I didn't get exposed to it until, after it came out and the toys came out, and I see my friends getting, Star Wars toys. Well, some of them not. I mean, I don't remember that much. I'm like going, oh, well, what's this? I don't know. And then, then seeing the movie on TV before the second came out, and then seeing the second and the third one in theaters. Yes. But I wasn't with the initial bandwagon. My parents wouldn't spend money on action figures, and I don't think I even asked them for that for whatever reason. It wasn't on my radar. Yeah. But then then reading though. So it got me, I was interested in the movies, and they were good movies and stuff, but it didn't there's not much, what do you read when you're, let's say you're 7, 8, you're whatever, that young, when Star Wars comes out, what do you read that's science fiction? There's not much youth science fiction like there is. Like I was a big reader. I read lots of different stuff, but there's very limited stuff to read when you're, between the ages of 8 and 12, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I read. I think I would guess that the Star Wars novelization was the first science fiction that I ever read. Science fantasy, technically, but you know what I'm saying. Before that,
Yeah.
I read, Beverly Cleary books, The Cricket in Times Square.
Yeah.
I did read a book that shaped my life called The Boy Who Spoke Chimp, which I rediscovered recently. But yeah, it was science fiction. Really wasn't.
Yeah, there's there's a bunch of, there's my kids are just coming out of the youth reading phase. There's so many more choices. But back then it would be, Judy Blume, like the Fudge stuff.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah,
they
the
would
same
be,
categories.
yeah, there would be, Encyclopedia Brown, the detective story.
Yeah,
There was also a Danny Dunn style mystery.
Yeah,
the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of the Great Brain series. There was a whole group of books about the author. I have one of his books here. It's 30 years old or more. It's about Freddie the Pig. It's a pig who lives on a farm that talks. Only animals talk. There's like 20 books by this guy. Brooks is his name. It's hard to find of his stuff. Yeah, Tales of Fourth Grade, Nothing, Super Fudge, all that stuff. It wasn't much science fiction. It was just sort of general fiction. The Great Brain books were all about a kid who's turn of the 19th century, like 1901, 1910. Back in that time frame, living in a small town in Utah. And his brother is really smart. Gets into various adventures, stuff like that. Amelia Bedelia, there's like one, yeah. Like there's all kinds of stuff. Not much in the science fiction until you get to Heinlein's Youth, Tunnel in the Sky.
Yeah, I never read any of those until I was an adult.
I didn't. Yeah, I read them at 13, 12, 14, around there. Yeah.
So somehow we're back to talking about novels.
Yeah.
Same old with this channel.
I like talking about novels.
Let me make one suggestion to
everything
everyone.
based on that.
What?
Everything comes from novels mainly.
Okay. The novel that helped me most in life, I think, in social interaction, is Blubber by Judy Blume. It's the basis of my entire understanding of women. So
Blubber.
I highly recommend it for anyone.
I can't remember that one.
It's very enlightening.
Oh, what's another one that's a good? My kids are reading them. Gordon Corman was coming out at that time. His first book was, I Want to Go Home, which is what summer camp, and McDonald Hall, about a bunch of grade sevens who live, in school. So there's those kind of stuff. Blubber. You know what kind of had the science fiction sort of edge would, if you were watching, you're that age, you're watching Disney on Sunday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disney's having its 1 hour program and different thing every week, but occasionally they had those sort of made for TV movies, right? The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes, Flubber, right? That guy invents this thing that you hit, it bounces like really crazy, like that style. I mean, they didn't always have science fiction. They had Escape from Witch Mountain and other things like that.
Right.
It wasn't always science fiction, but they did have a couple of science fiction stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all those things better than THX 138.
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's not bash it too hard, or we'll never get George Lucas on our show. It's not a great movie, but if you were a movie buff and you like angles and or how those things are shot, I don't know anything about that, but I can recognize that. I'm like, it's pretty, he's focusing on the faces all the time, and he's doing
definitely.
this.
If you enjoy filmmaking, it's something worth watching.
I think Flubber was in the 70s. I'm pretty sure I watched some. But,
maybe it was on TV in the 70s, but it
TV
probably
in the 70s, but maybe.
Yeah.
Silent Running. Okay, what's the story with Silent Running? Is that that sounds like a submarine movie? But
we'll put it on the list.
We'll put it on the list. We'll take the list is it's got to be available like through Internet Archives or something, so everybody can watch it who wants to watch it. Can't see it. That's and it's got to be science fiction-y-ish. Would be a fairly sci-fi space arc. Yeah, that's Silent Running. No, is it? Yeah, those are the criteria. Everybody should be able to watch it, and it's kind of got to fit some time in the. Is that space station in orbit around Saturn? Okay, well that sounds good, like that. That sounds right. We'll talk. Cam and I will talk about. We'll take any suggestions. We'll talk about. I made the suggestion, Clockwork Orange, but Cam is like, no, it's too depressing.
No, that's not. It is
kind of. I mean, it's science fiction, but it's kind of more dystopia, and it's big on the dystopia and not on the science part. That's for sure. It is kind of violent, and we could do 2001, but I mean, everyone kind of does that one. Is that kind of a?
I love 2001. That's another one that's
slow,
right? But if you love filmmaking, that is a.
Oh yeah, well it's Coppola, right?
No, Kubrick.
Kubrick made it. That's right. Yeah, it's very. I watched a couple of years ago, like the whole thing through from start to finish, because another one of those movies like THX 1138, which I only had seen part of on TV when I flipped the channel, like, oh look. But I finally watched the whole thing. It's a little slow, but it's built. Oh no, 2001 is trash. Oh, somebody hates it.
What?
I mean, it is kind of.
Oh, it's just here to watch. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of slow, but yeah, it's interesting concepts, interesting ideas. All right. That's it for the show. Cam wanted to finish off early. He's being sick.
Yeah, but, sorry, everybody. I know I was snorting and everything.
We pushed it and we did our usual hour to an hour and a half anyway. All right. Okay, Silent Running. We'll look it up. I will look it up for sure. Probably right after this. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for the show. Did we forget anything?
Nope.
Nope, we didn't forget anything. Wait, we did forget something. Come on, Cam. You know, your favorite part of the show, the jokes. We forgot about the jokes. Can't forget about that. All right, so it's getting really hard to find some good science fiction related jokes. I got to tell you guys, these ones are all Oscar related because tonight are the Oscars, and we appreciate you guys being here with us instead of watching that.
That's not much of an ask.
Anyway, all right, let's do the jokes, Cam. All right, so why don't they let ghosts attend the Oscars?
I don't know. Why don't they let ghosts attend the Oscars?
Because they always boo, right? Because ghosts say boo, and you're booing like a movie because it's not very good, right?
Yep, great.
Got that? All right.
Got it.
How do you organize a space party at the Oscars?
I don't know. How do you organize a space party at the Oscars?
You plan it. Planet,
yeah, that's a good one. That's great. I love it. I don't think you can ever surpass that joke.
It goes around the sun, and then the plan it.
Peak hilarious.
Listen, these are the best of the ones I could find. You should do the other ones. They were really bad. These are the best of the bad jokes.
I said it was great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that one was good. You got to admit that one's pretty good. Yeah. All right. So what's coming up, Cam? You want to?
I have no idea.
No idea. Wednesday.
Oh,
Wednesday,
that Wednesday.
Babylon 5.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Babylon 5.
Babylon 5. We're going to be doing the episode 8. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that? When the sky
and the sky was full of stars.
And the sky was full of stars. I haven't watched it yet. I don't know what it's about. I forget. I mean, I saw it before, but
I haven't rewatched it. I remember.
I'm gonna rewatch it for sure. I'll find out what it is about. And after that, the one after that is Death Walker. I remember that one. That was pretty. Yeah. Sky Full of Stars. That's on Wednesday, and then of course the next Wednesday was Death Walker, and then we're gonna keep going. What's up for next week's show, Cam?
Beats me.
Beats me too. I haven't figured it out yet, so it can't be a movie. I had a couple other ideas, but Cam put the kibosh on those
because they're dumb.
Well, because you're too lazy, you said, to do something with them. But
yes, kind of tomorrow.
Something that
Thanks
you have
for
to
reminding us again. Is the 800th episode of Live from the Bunker and Jason's birthday, and I did put a link to it. Let's see if I can pop that in one more time here. There it is. Okay, so that's for tomorrow.
Jason's 55. He's a youngin'. He's a little baby. Yeah. All right. I think that's it, right? Nothing else? Those shows coming up. So, hey, thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate everybody coming out. Thanks in the chat. If you're in the chat, you don't want to participate, you just want to lurk. Hey, that's great. But those of you like Weatherman who's putting in his 2 cents on everything we say and correcting us, we appreciate that too. We want this show to be like a discussion with you guys. We're talking about the movie or whatever it is we're talking about, and you're putting in your 2 cents as well. And we want to highlight that. So that's great. All right. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope we'll see you on Wednesday and then next Sunday. And I will figure out a topic by then. Something. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.